The storm rolled in long before the clouds did. It lived in the heart of a young woman named Mara Hayes, a 23-year-old who had learned too early that life rarely paused to let you breathe. That morning in Cedar Grove, a quiet town in the United States with long stretches of road lined by rustling maples, she stood outside the grocery store clutching a torn canvas bag, trembling not from cold but from the weight of everything she had been carrying alone. Her eyes were tired, her spirit stretched thin, yet something in her face still held the soft glow of someone who refused to give up. And as the glass doors slid open behind her, she turned toward a tall, calm-faced man locking his truck, a man she barely knew but had seen around town, a single dad named Christopher Lane, who always carried himself like someone fighting a silent battle of his own. And it was in that fragile moment, fueled by desperation and a spark of hope she could barely explain, that she whispered the sentence that would change both their lives. "Can you pretend to be my boyfriend for a day?" She expected laughter, maybe confusion. But nothing prepared her for what he said next. "If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic of unexpected connections, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts." Mara had never asked anyone for help, not when her father left, not when her mother's health collapsed, not when all the dreams she had once planned to chase folded neatly into the responsibilities of survival. She worked double shifts at the old diner on Route 14, saving every tip, scraping by paycheck to paycheck, trying to keep her mother's medications filled and their lights on. But the last straw came when the landlord accused her of lying about her support system. He demanded proof, someone trustworthy, someone steady, someone who could vouch for her life and character before he agreed to renew their lease. She had no relatives, no close friends she could burden. So she planted herself in the only place she could think to find a person who radiated decency without expecting anything in return: the parking lot of the grocery store where Christopher often shopped with his little daughter Hannah, a bright-eyed 8-year-old with curly hair and a shy smile. Mara remembered seeing the way he held his daughter's hand, the gentleness in his posture, the quiet way he moved through the world as if constantly aware that someone small relied on him completely. There was grief behind his eyes, too, deep but softened, like someone still learning how to breathe after loss. Rumor in town said his wife had passed a few years back, and ever since then he had been raising Hannah alone, doing his best even when loneliness lingered in the spaces between their daily routines. That gentleness was why she chose him. When the words spilled out of her, Mara instantly regretted them. She felt foolish, desperate, even childish. But Christopher didn't look at her with judgment. He didn't frown or step back or question her character. Instead, his expression shifted into something unexpected: concern, understanding, and a softness she hadn't been shown in a long time. Instead of rejection, he said, "Tell me what's going on. If you're in trouble, maybe I can help." That stunned her, not the kind of shock that steals your breath, but the kind that warms the coldest parts of your heart, because someone saw you drowning and reached out without hesitation. So she told him everything, not in polished sentences or carefully crafted explanations, but in broken pieces, raw and tangled. As she spoke, Christopher listened with patient eyes. When she finished, she waited for him to turn away. Instead, he nodded slowly and said he would help. He even offered to bring Hannah along so it would feel more real to the landlord. Mara felt a wave of gratitude crash over her, strong enough to make her knees weak. That afternoon they arrived at the apartment complex together, Mara walking beside them, feeling as though she'd stepped into a life she had never been allowed to imagine. The landlord, a heavy-set man named Mr. Caldwell, watched them approach suspiciously. But when Christopher put a careful, reassuring hand on Mara's back, introducing himself with steady confidence, something changed. He spoke about her character with a sincerity that surprised even her. He told the truth, not that they were in love, but that she was responsible, hardworking, trustworthy. He explained how the community relied on people like her, how her presence added value, not burden. Hannah even chimed in with a giggle, saying, "Miss Mara makes the best milkshakes at the diner," a detail that softened Caldwell's stiff shoulders. The lease was approved on the spot. When they walked out of the office, the weight that left Mara's chest felt like a physical thing, like someone had unlatched a door in her ribcage and let hope seep back in. She thanked Christopher repeatedly, but he shrugged it off gently, saying helping someone wasn't a burden. It was simply the right thing to do. For years she had lived believing she had to carry everything alone. Christopher showed her that sometimes letting someone help wasn't weakness, it was humanity. As days passed, something subtle but profound began to shift between them. Christopher visited the diner more often, not out of obligation, but because he genuinely enjoyed talking to her. Hannah adored her, always waving excitedly whenever she spotted Mara across the dining room. Mara found herself smiling more, laughing softly, feeling less like someone clawing through the dark and more like someone learning to live again. And Christopher, who had long ago convinced himself that his world was complete with just him and his daughter, slowly realized that companionship didn't betray the memory of the woman he had loved. It simply added warmth where the cold had settled. Too deeply. One evening, as the temperature dropped and the town glowed in soft street light, Christopher walked Mara home. The silence between them was warm and easy, filled with unspoken understanding. When they reached her door, she thanked him again, not for the landlord's approval, but for being the kind of person who made room for strangers in a world where everyone was too busy to see anyone else. He smiled softly and told her she had given him something too. Something he hadn't known he missed, the feeling of being part of someone's story again. Their connection was quiet but powerful, built not from grand gestures but from small, consistent kindnesses. And as winter brushed the edges of Cedar Grove, both of them realized that what began as a desperate plea in a parking lot had grown into something deeply meaningful, something fragile, healing, and unexpectedly beautiful. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these emotional stories alive. Before we end, drop a comment below. Would you have helped someone the way Christopher helped Mara?